In this video, we're going to be talking about a really important topic, your email opt-in strategy. We're the Inbox Club. Let's get into it.
Okay, fine. Oh, is that the clap?
Oh, I just did it.
I'm the clapper.
No, I am now.
Oh, I'm gonna.
There's a
okay.
new clapper in town.
We're all clapping. Okay, right. Okay, so we've covered subject lines, we've covered personalization, we've covered testing.
Yeah,
Hopefully some people have stuck with us after we bored them to death on testing.
probably not.
Probably not. My mum's probably even switched off at this point.
Yeah.
But in case there are some people watching, we're going to talk about list growth a little bit, right? We're going to talk about opting in, getting people to opt in, what that means, how to do it effectively, and how to grow your list, right? Because that's a big challenge for a lot of people. And if I was to hazard a guess at the most Googled problem for people that are doing their own email marketing is probably like, how do I grow my list? Or like ways to grow your list. And one symptom is that we see people buying lists, right?
Yeah, big no-no.
Big no-no, good. We didn't rehearse that, so I'm glad that he said that. But yeah, big no-no. So if you're buying a list, like instantly you're starting off on the wrong foot, right? You know, some things should be bought, some things shouldn't. Some things should happen naturally, right?
Yeah.
So, and for me, like an organically grown list is something that's better when it's your own, something that you own, because that's a huge plus point of email marketing. So
Yeah, and when we say buy a list, we don't mean it's fine to pay for advertising to get subscribers.
yeah.
It's fine to invest money into the growth of your list.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between that and buying a pre-built list.
Yeah, buying data. Yeah, so exactly. So when we talk about that, we're talking about going to a data broker, buying data and using that data for your email marketing. It just doesn't work. It's a bit of a grey area anyway when it comes to what you can do legally, but ultimately, what you're trying to achieve here is an ROI on your email marketing. And the beauty of email marketing is that you can start it with £0 in your bank, right? And if you're starting from a standpoint of paying a chunk of money for a list that's shit anyway, you know, you're on a bad foot. And you've grown your own newsletter. You know what it's like to grow from when you get your first 50 subscribers and the joy that you get from that, and doing it organically. There's a journey there, and you also get to know your list as you're growing it. So to do it organically is the way to go for me.
Yeah, definitely. And that joy is not exponential by any means. I would say it was probably more exciting to get my first 50 subscribers for my hobby newsletter, which is about fantasy football, than it was to get, you know, the last 5,000 we've got. It's that sounds braggy, but it's only to say that it's completely relative. So people often say to us, what's the point in sending emails? You know, I've only got 100 subscribers. I would much rather have 100 really good high value subscribers than 10,000 people who never open my emails.
Yeah, precisely.
So whilst we're going to talk about list growth and opt-in strategies, we should stress that to an extent, the number of subscribers you've got is a bit of a vanity metric. What we're looking for is a lot of really high quality subscribers, because ultimately a really healthy list that has a 50% open rate, if you have 10,000 of them, that's 5,000 people engaging with your content every single time you send an email. That's better than having a 50,000 strong email list with only an 8% open rate, where you're going to actually have less than that 5,000. So and that's also going to have implications on deliverability and so forth. So you're absolutely right to say that the best way to get a high quality list is to grow it organically, and to be intentional with every subscriber that you bring on board.
Absolutely. And I think something that has captured my imagination from the early days of email marketing is people that grow newsletter businesses, right? You've done it yourself, but also there's people that have done it obviously on a much larger scale than you have as well. And
how dare you?
Sorry, mate. I mean, it is good, but there are bigger. And what I love about that, and what captures my imagination, is how much those lists are worth. If you were to sell that newsletter business, how much that list is worth, you know, in monetary terms. Because if you have a list of people that they hit a certain demographic, the person sending the emails really knows the list, what the list engages with, what they love to hear about, and so the engagement is really high as well. That list can be worth like 7 figures, right? It
Oh
could be
yeah,
worth millions.
8 figures perhaps. Yeah, there's been some recent acquisitions, newsletter acquisitions for kind of 50, 60 million.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, it can be incredibly profitable business, and also quite a pleasant business to run.
Yeah.
In that it's a relatively simple proposition. The product is the content itself, and you know, it's in a world in which content is harder and harder to monetize. Newsletters are kind of breaking forth as this new revolution of journalists, content creators being able to monetize their writing again, which is empowering individuals to create content and actually get compensated for it, which is not something that the internet is used to. You know, we're used to content creators being underpaid and underappreciated, and it's fantastic that newsletters are creating an outlet for people to create great content and actually get paid.
Yeah. So those examples that you brought up there, where you were talking about newsletters selling for 8 figures, right? How many subscribers would a list like that have off the top of your head?
A lot. So The Hustle, for example, which was one of the first big newsletter acquisitions, I think that was I don't think the official number has actually been disclosed by the founder, a guy called Sam Parr, but it's in the region of $20 to $30 million that was acquired for. And I believe at the time it had about 1.5 million subscribers. So it's a huge list, and it had a monetized element called Trends, which was like a yearly payment plan that people could opt into, and they would get exclusive content kind of loosely associated with The Hustle, which was a business newsletter. Trends would send you more deep dives on specific companies. And that had about 20,000 subscribers, I believe, at the time that it was sold. So it was a revenue generating machine. It sold ads for quite a large amount. One thing we have to remember with newsletters is that the CPM on them, the cost an advertiser pays to reach 1,000 subscribers is significantly higher than it is on nearly any other medium. So you think about a YouTube video, for example, the CPM might be somewhere between £2 and £5. For a newsletter, it's going to be more around £15 to £20, and that can go up exponentially depending on the kind of niche you're talking to. If you have a newsletter that's all about investing, you're going to get a much higher CPM than the newsletter about fantasy football.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this all then stems back to the list that you have and making sure that it's a high quality list, right? And that all starts with the opt-in process and growing your list. So, when you talk about the newsletter selling there for kind of 8 figures, and it was 1.5 million subscribers, right, which is a lot for a newsletter. But when you compare that to followers and you think about what some of the content creators have in terms of followers, you know, actually that doesn't seem as big, you know, in terms of the other ways of creating content and getting it out in the world. And what I like about newsletters is that a lot of social media platforms are moving towards favoring video content, hence why we're here today filming video content for socials. It's labor intensive, right? It can be expensive.
I'm knackered.
Yeah. And the beauty of newsletters is that they're always just newsletters, right? There are ways that you can do them differently and the ways that you can stand out, but it's a medium that is fairly constant, right? It's fairly
Yeah, absolutely. There's very little that has changed between newsletters of 25 years ago and newsletters today. When we think about YouTube and the various algorithmic changes, they've moved a dislike button, they now do shorts. The formatting has changed. You know, quite a lot about YouTube has changed. When we look at kind of old incarnations of the platform, it looked very, very different. Well, actually, if you think about Gmail, it's more or less stayed the same. The way that people are served email, yes, there's a little bit more sophistication. That there are different folders now that you can automate so that certain emails are put into certain folders as you receive them. But generally speaking, the inbox looks now as it did when it was first invented. Newsletters as a medium, I love that about them because it says to me, okay, in 20 years' time, it's probably still not going to be a huge amount of change. Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Yeah, absolutely. The first email that was ever sent, do you remember what year that was? You won't remember it because you weren't alive.
No, idea.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you do.
Yeah, I do actually.
Oh, nice. You've come prepared.
I have come prepared, yeah. I mean, we'd be losers if we hadn't come to a podcast prepared. 1979.
Okay.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So, and my dad was 10. No, my dad was 12. My mum was 10. So, it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first memories of having your own first email address?
You know what? I remember my sister. I've got two older sisters. The oldest one is 7 years older. She was quite smart. I was probably 10 or 11. It was Christmas time. And her Christmas present to me was an email address.
Okay.
Which, retrospectively, I realise was some fantastic improvisation on her.
Yeah.
It was totally free for her to do.
Yeah.
But as a 10 or 11-year-old, pretty unfamiliar with the internet. I'm 32, so we're talking kind of early 2000s here.
Yeah.
10 or 11-year-old, my mind was blown at the idea of having my own inbox.
Yeah.
And the handle that we decided upon, you can still send an email to it now if you want, was ilove_Christmascake at yahoo.co.uk. Because I was working with inspiration in the room, and there's probably a slice of Christmas cake in front of me.
Okay.
And the password was Britney Spears.
Okay.
So feel free to log in and take a look. It's long shot down.
Yes.
But yeah, so I don't remember the first email that I sent. I imagine it was probably to my sister saying something like hello.
Yeah.
But that's the story of how I first got into email.
Did you A/B test that first email you sent to your sister?
No. Obviously, of course. Like I said, any email send that isn't testing is a waste. No, I didn't, regretfully. What about you? Do you remember yours?
Do you know what? I don't know if I can. I remember it was probably
Norwich Freak at NTL World.
I mean, I still use that email address.
Yeah.
It was one my dad set up for me. I had no hand in the creation of that. He came to me one day and said, "Oh, your email address is norwichfreak@ntlworld.com."
Oh, okay.
I was
like a
okay,
PA.
well, yeah, exactly, yeah. So I was like, okay, thanks, Dad. Yeah, my brother got Louis Gunner. It was all based on the football teams we support, right?
Sure. So, you're not just like really into the city of Norwich.
No, I mean, that would also be fine because Norwich is obviously great. But,
it's a fine city.
Yeah, fine city. But no, I'm a Norwich City supporter, unfortunately. So yeah, but I think I must have had one before that when I was younger. And my feeling is that it was probably on AOL.
Yeah.
Right, because we were, in the dial-up days, and there are those that remember dial-up and those that don't, and we're drawing a line in the sand here because there are going to be those that don't.
Showing your age now.
Dial-up, and but anyway, back to growing your list and opt-in, right? So we went a bit on a tangent there on our personal history of our email addresses.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love Christmas cake as well.
Yeah, we know that now. Yeah, and potentially Britney Spears as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of so we've talked about, we've said what not to do, right? So don't buy data, right? And I think I would including that in that scraping data inorganically, right? So what are things that people can do to grow their list? And I think that let's start from people that have either no or very little list, and then we can talk about tactics for people that have a fairly sizable list already and what they can do to grow that, because there are different tactics.
Yeah. The starting point to discuss here is what sort of list are you trying to build? Because the tactics you might use to grow a list for your e-commerce store might be different to the tactics you'll employ for your hobby newsletter or your B2B newsletter if you're an agency, for example. So
cool.
I think it's worth bearing that in mind. However, in every instance, I would say when you're starting out, look at the levers that you already have to pull. By which I mean, almost everybody watching this, all three of them, will have avenues that they can exploit to start building their list. And this could be something like their LinkedIn connections, for example. Even their family and friends. It could be that they already have a pre-existing relationship with, another, for example, for Lazy FPL, my fantasy football newsletter. We asked other newsletters in the football space to give us a little introduction to their audience.
Yeah.
So look at your network and don't just look at it, don't just scan it. Look at each LinkedIn connection you have. Look at the people that you regularly send emails to, other business owners or whoever it may be, and ask yourself, will they do me a favor here? And that could be as simple as just subscribing to your newsletter, which I think is a fairly low friction favor to ask anyone. But they might also be happy to introduce you to their network as well. And just pulling in those favors and saying, look, I'm building this. It'd be great to have you on. I think you'll find it useful. I think is a great place to start. I would say that first and foremost, it's really important to remember, it sounds obvious, that the only reason why anyone will ever subscribe to your newsletter is if they feel like it's going to be worth it for them. They need to feel like there's something in it for them. Yes, they might do you a favor, but you don't want to depend on the kindness of others. You want them to be happy that they subscribed. If you're an e-commerce store, perhaps that means offering some sort of discount in exchange for an email address. If you're a business, if you're a B2B agency, for example, perhaps you're focusing more on educational pieces and providing value in that way. But making sure that people don't go on to regret subscribing, I think, is also really, really important. So at that point of email entry, show them exactly why it's going to be worth it for them.
Absolutely. And actually, for e-commerce and for B2C or D2C brands running stores, it's incredibly common for them to say, well, sign up to our newsletter and you'll get 10% off, right? And for B2B brands, that takes on a slightly different form where they create some kind of lead magnet, where it's a white paper. So it's a very common thing to do, right? And we employ that tactic for our clients. I think in an ideal world, I would love to have a scenario in which people sign up to your email marketing on the merits of your email marketing, right? So
that'd be so good.
So you're not doing a deal with the devil here, where you're signing up, you get your 10%, but oh, by the way, we're gonna send you some emails. For me, that feels like you're making a deal there, and I prefer and will always push people away from doing the discount thing if we can, because it's like, why should I sign up to the newsletter? What can I expect from the newsletter? Why is it going to be a good thing for me to be subscribed to beyond just the short-term deal you're going to make with me? Because that's what it is, right?
Yeah, and when we have that transactional element to list growth, subscriber churn tends to be a lot higher, engagement tends to be a lot lower. So you're absolutely right. At the same time, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the top reason why someone would subscribe to an e-commerce newsletter is the promise of a discount. So
of course,
there is also this tendency, I think, for some store owners to overestimate how much value they can actually offer their prospective subscribers. One of the things that really irks me about opt-in forms is when a business owner or whoever is in charge of the email marketing will say something like, sign up for company updates. And as much as we love the idea that all of our customers are really interested in what's going on behind the scenes at our company and our new hires and Molly in accounting doing the tough mudder, the fact is that most of our customers aren't going to care about that. What they really want to know is what's in it for me. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, a discount can be a necessary evil in terms of encouraging that subscriber. I think for me, what's really important is that if we're forced to make that transactional deal, as soon as they're into our list, we welcome them with a proper nurturing series. That means even if they originally came for the discount, we're quickly telling them what else they're going to get and ensuring that they stick around for those other reasons as well. So our welcome series needs to be awesome.
Needs to be on point. That's a good point. I think, so I guess then in this utopian world that I've tried to paint a picture of for opt-in, that you would not view your opt-in form as something that's like, well, give us your data and we'll do you a bit of a favor, we'll give you this discount. But it's like, okay, we'll sign up, you'll get discount and you'll get all this extra stuff that we're going to be sending you, right?
Absolutely.
And the I think one thing that you can do to protect your churn rate immediately is to deliver on what you promised straight away, right? So if you've promised like groundbreaking, great content, seem to be delivering that straight away, right? If it's just an automated welcome kind of template email that you've not paid much attention to, it's not going to do you any favors. So deliver on that promise straight away, because people will remember. People have got long memories when it comes to receiving shit emails.
You've got some tasty welcome email numbers up your sleeve as well, haven't you, in terms of how many people engage in them?
I do, yeah. So in terms of like, I was saving this for a bit later on, so you put me on the spot a little bit, but no, it's fine. So welcome emails get 10 times as many opens, 4 times as many clicks. And roughly on average, people open rates for welcome emails are about 80 to I think 86% or something, which is wild, which is huge. And when you consider open rates will tend to be around, if you're doing a good job, 40 to 50, right? Or 50 to 60 perhaps if you're doing a very good job. So when you consider 86%, wow, okay, that's an opportunity, right? That's people are sitting up and listening, or at least they're opening it. So you've got to get that right. If you're using a template welcome email, you've not spent much attention on it, or I hate to say tested it, you're missing an opportunity there.
100%. So I would say no matter where you are in your list growth process, whether it's right at the start or you've already got a big list and you want to kind of consolidate it and build on it, your welcome series need to be excellent, because it's one thing to get a subscriber. It's much easier for you to retain that subscriber once you've got them. The cost of acquiring a new subscriber is infinitely higher than the cost of keeping one. And so your welcome series will be, as you said, the open rates are so high that if you're not careful, it might be the only email from you that they ever open. So making a statement and making an impression as soon as possible is massively important.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. You talked a little about leveraging your network, right, to grow your list in those early stages. I think I would add to that is leveraging your other channels. Right? Because one thing that we've found a bit difficult in the past is not having the support from other channels from in the business to support your list growth, right? Because if you aren't in a position where you're shouting out opt-in on your social media, for example, or you're not spending, maybe if you're an e-commerce store, you're not spending on ads to get the traffic through the site so that people opt in and then enter your flows, right? So for us, we also like to see people leveraging the other channels to support email marketing, because it's a great way. But that's not necessarily something that a fledgling business can use straight away, right? Because certainly for us, we've started a new business in the past, just over a year now. It's not as if we've got this limitless bank of money we can use on ads, right, to grow our list. Unfortunately not. And so if people want to grow their list, they need to think about the network that they have available to them if they don't have the resources of a highly established business. And if they do, then to think about the channels that they can leverage to grow their list, right? If you had to pick out one way for you that is your favorite way to grow your list, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the one that gets the best results, but maybe it's the one that gets the best results in terms of quality of subscriber, right? Is there one for you that sticks out?
I think other newsletter shout outs are really, really powerful. One of the problems with running a newsletter that other platforms don't suffer from is that it's a very privileged position to be invited into somebody's inbox. And I think it's important to really respect the fact that, unlike watching a video on YouTube or TikTok, there is more intimacy involved with an email, in that you are being invited into their space. And the great thing about using other newsletters in order to grow your own is that the people who are seeing that advertisement or that plug or whatever it is are already the sort of people that are happy to subscribe to newsletters. And not everybody is. As much as I'd love to live in a utopia where everyone loves receiving newsletters, it is an argument that needs to be won amongst some people. Some people just consider every email they receive as spam, more or less, and don't like hanging out in their inbox. So by being able to target specifically an audience who are already opening newsletters and engaging with them and see the value in them, you're already knocking down a lot of the barriers that might stop someone from subscribing. And that makes it so much easier. And what we find data-wise is that subscribers that have come from other newsletters tend to be a lot more engaged, a lot more likely to convert to a premium product if you offer one. So I would say other newsletter shout outs are fantastic. And what's brilliant is that there is this perception that your competitors aren't going to shout you out for whatever reason, but what research has showed is that recipients are more than happy to subscribe to several newsletters all about the same topic. You know, it's not hard to just delete an email if you don't want to see it, or just read it later. It's not like you're necessarily being bombarded. You read your emails on your own terms. And it means that despite the narrative that, oh, okay, if I run a football newsletter, I can't possibly go to another football newsletter and ask them to give me a plug. What you'll find is that newsletter owners are usually all too happy to support smaller newsletters. We certainly are. And it's been a massive help, you know, helping each other. Cross-pollination of subscribers has been really, really good.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's not even something that would necessarily have to cost you money or much money, right?
Exactly.
Because if you do it in the right way, there's ways. If you're in a networking sense, if you're building your network and you're meeting people, you can quite often say, look, we're a new business. Do you want to give us a shout out? You know, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that they could do that free of charge, or they might say to you, yeah, sure, we'll do it. When you get to a certain amount of subscribers, would you do it back for us? You know, working out be creative the ways of doing it. And, you know, if you're listening to this video or watching this podcast or whatever, you own a business, or it might be that if you don't own a business, that you're in a marketing role, and that you've put a certain amount of work and graft into either starting your business, getting it to where it is, or to where you are in your career. And I can promise you, the creativity and the persistence that you need to grow your list is less work than what you've done to get to that position that you're in, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you've owned a business.
That's so true.
So it's just avoiding that temptation to look for shortcuts. Can't stress enough that should be avoided, because it doesn't serve you well. And if I was to add my favorite one in, not that you asked, thanks a lot, but not if
Sorry,
I was to, that's all right. If I was to add my favorite one in, I think it's the referral driven traffic, right? And it's not something that always gets you high numbers, right? But the quality of the subscribers that you get from it. So what I'm talking about here is going to your email list and saying, look, if you like this, how about you tell some mates about it? However you might want to do that. Whether you weave in some kind of offer with that as well. Because I know it's something that you did. For your newsletter. I subscribe to your newsletter. I also pay for the premium version.
Thanks, mate. No mates rates.
There are no mates rates. I pay the full price. But you did an offer where I'm sure it was, if you get a certain amount of people signed up, you get some bonus content, right? Or you get a month free. I can't remember what it was. But
we have various incentives.
I think I got 3 people to not only sign up to your newsletter, but then also pay for the premium version, right? So the quality of that traffic that you got from me, and if you replicated that across your, how many is it now? You've got 45, 50,000 subscribers. Not everyone's going to do that, but if a small portion did, the quality of that traffic, it's the butterfly effect, right? You're getting really high engaged traffic that are willing to then pay for premium content, and by merit of that, probably will have more likely to then make referrals themselves as well, right?
Just a quick note on referrals, actually, because there is a bit of an art to it. Not to blow I certainly haven't mastered the art by any means. It, again, like anything in email marketing, it requires testing and iteration. It is fantastic if you get it right, and you're absolutely right to say that, you know, there's nothing as powerful as word of mouth, right? In marketing, and the quality of subscriber tends to be quite high. However, depending on how you structure your rewards, and by the way, there's various software you can use in order to create an actual referral system. So as opposed to just saying, oh, if you send a screenshot of you know, your mate subscribing, then that's quite a hard and high friction way to do it. There are automated ways where you can generate personalized links. Some software called Sparkloop that does that, but some ESPs also have it built in. How you structure your rewards, your incentives for their referrals, is incredibly important, because what we've found in the past, for example, is that if we give something really good for one referral, people use their work email. And so then you're not getting a quality subscriber, you're getting the same subscriber who isn't going to open your emails twice. So it's very difficult to verify that and insure against it unless you kind of go in manually and have a look. So we tend to structure our rewards such that you need to kind of get beyond that 2 or 3 threshold, so that it's actually your network that you're referring, and not just your various kind of side hustle emails that you've got in your Gmail bank.
Absolutely, And I fully accept that I'm your mate, so I'm automatically much more likely to refer people to your newsletter than I would be normally.
Or the opposite.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But it helps, obviously, the people that I know that will play fantasy football were obviously interested in your content, so I'm really happy to do that, you know, and I know that the content's good. So, you know, I get there's an extra element there, and it probably doesn't extrapolate very well when you know, me as your mate versus your whole list. But, you know, I think there is something to be said there for that referral system, and I really like it.
I'll slip you that $5 later.
Yeah, exactly. I would send everyone who watches this podcast, I'll send them my referral link, and I'll get loads of money from people to change this newsletter. Okay, I think we covered opt-in. I will just quick break here. I want to give a shout out to the support that we're getting today. From Kat. We have no idea how to film shit, right? I think you've got like an iPhone 2 or something.
I do.
Right? Yeah.
As you said earlier, Steve Jobs was still alive.
Yeah, when your iPhone came out. Yeah. So we just want to shout out to Kat because the support that we have. She's behind the camera. She's laughing at our jokes. I don't know if it's because we're paid clients, but she's you're not seeing it here, but there's 3 cameras, there's lighting, it's on brand for us. She's made us herbal teas because we've got tickly throats.
Yeah.
You know, there's even lentil soup promised for lunch, which I'm really looking forward to.
I can't wait.
And it's just been a lovely experience so far.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I would say that as someone who is not by any means comfortable in front of the camera, one thing that I was really apprehensive about was kind of the vibe of the day. I know that sounds kind of silly to say, but I was worried, and when we arrived, I was immediately put at ease.
Absolutely.
I'd say like you can probably recreate something like this if you put enough spend behind it. But what you can't recreate is the feeling that you get with someone and how comfortable they make you feel.
Absolutely.
And like the rapport that we have, like we've had a good laugh and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make you feel awkward, Kat, but yeah, it's
it's been good.
It's made us feel, I think, a lot more relaxed than we have any right to be sat here in front of 3 cameras.
Absolutely. And what you'll be seeing here is the finished product as well, after Kat has done all the editing. So hopefully that's as good as we've felt on the day as well. And I'm sure it will be. But if you don't know Kat, then reach out to her. You can find her on LinkedIn. Her name's Kat, K-A-T, and her surname is Batt, B-H-A-T. B-H-A-T, that's right.
Yeah.
So Kat Batt, look her up on LinkedIn, check her out because her stuff is awesome. And I think the prospector today, I think it's -1 outside, -2 when we set off. Yes, we're in a garage. It was a bit cold when we got here, but you should see the spread that Kat's put on here for us in terms of heaters.
I mean, I'm in a t-shirt.
Not
a goose pimple inside.
No,
so.
We might as well be in Mallorca at this point.
That's it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really cozy. So big thanks to Kat.
Yeah. Cheers, Kat.
There we go. So if you saw that was Kat.